Hi, I'm Billy Mack. I'm on a currently endless tour, which I am predominantly doing on bus. I've been touring basically since mid-November. I started in Washington State, flew to Chicago, rode buses around. Right now I'm on a mini tour with Cara Cara. We're doing 3 days in Ohio, and I just keep going. I just bought bus tickets till the end of March, so I'm touring at least until then. The endless tour just started in November. I did August and September I was on the road, and then I guess October and half of November I was off. Had like a week and a half off this month. From here on out it's pretty endless. Do DIY was originally a MySpace account in 2008 that I started kind of for my own personal use after I did my first cross-country tour in May and June of 2008, and I just sort of wanted to catalog all of the art spaces, house venues that I was playing at, all the ones I wanted to go to. I was like, well, other people probably want to see this too, so I made a MySpace account for it. The response to it was overwhelming, and everyone's like, hey, can I be on this? Hey, do you know about anywhere in this town? And people started asking me where to go. People started asking if I could list them. People asked me not to list them, and it just got so crazy. I asked my friend Edwin from Chicago to help me out with it, and he asked his friend Neil from Seattle, who's the one who's running it now. Yeah, it was just a MySpace for a long time, and then there was a Facebook for a little bit, but Facebook wasn't really conducive to it, and Neil bought a domain, and now it's DoDIY.org. I was involved in it for like a year and a half. House shows, yeah, they're a lot more common now, a lot more, the idea seems way less foreign to people. Like I can have to say like, hey, we'll come and play music in your house, and people aren't too shocked by the idea. It was interesting, like when I first went on tour in 2008, like a lot more houses were sort of like based around community involvement, and there were a lot of like food not bombs run out of the houses, but now it's just like people will have house shows just because they want to have a party. So it's like becomes sort of a different feel, like it's not just like the underground, like house shows are way more common, and you can, and people who don't normally have house shows will just be like, oh yeah, my friend from out of town is in, so we'll do one. It's a different beast than it was. I mean, I imagine that house shows will just sort of always be a thing, and I like to think that they'll continue to be more common, and it'll just be like a normal thing to have 15 people over and listen to some music in your living room. I love how much more common it is. Like today I was trying to figure out how to play a house show in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and I just searched through Facebook for local musicians there, and I found one guy, and I talked to him for like an hour. He's like, yeah, I know a few musicians in town, we'll look into it. I could probably have people in my living room. Like it's not something he'd ever done before, but he was like interested in the idea. It's neat. I mean, I feel like it's been going on for forever. It feels like I'm part of like a generation of people who did it. Like I found out about house shows by going to one by mistake in Philadelphia, and I was just like, oh man, like I thought I went to the wrong place because I just showed up in some residential neighborhood and I saw a crowd of people outside, and it was a house show, and that was like 2005 or 2006. So then I was really fascinated by the idea, and I wanted to start doing it in my town, and had shows in my parents' basement. Then I was like, well, I know all these bands that are traveling, I'll go play in their towns. So I definitely didn't feel like I was the first or anything, but now when I tour like 5 or 6 years later, I feel like I'm part of like a previous generation. It seems like there's like a group of people in their late 20s and early 30s that I'm a part of, and then there's like a group of people in their late teens, early 20s. So it's like there's like this gap. There aren't a ton of people in the mid 20s that I find. So it like feels like a generational thing. This is the first Endless tour. Now that I'm traveling on bus, like I can make ends meet, and that's really exciting. And I mean, there are people who do it who have like super dedicated giant followings. Like, you know, there's Pat the Bunny does crazy giant house shows and venues, and Paul Baraboo's still doing house shows. The thing I like to do is, which is tough with the buses right now, but I like to like find new towns and then start sending other musicians out to that town. I like finding the weird places or finding people who don't normally do it, and I'm always more interested in doing that than like trying to infiltrate a scene that's already there. Like I'm like, ooh, who can I find that I've never met before that no one I know knows, and how can I play in their living room? I could have a member of my band in every city in the country. That would be cool. Or everyone in the country has a band. That's my kind of global domination. Today we're off to Elyria, Ohio. The day after that we're going to be in Akron. Then I'm heading back to Pennsylvania for a little bit, playing in Philly and Hazleton, then New England, then the South. By the end of February, I'll be in Texas. I don't want to smack talk anyone. I'll just say I played a house show once where the hosts of the show made us play outside while they and all their friends hung out inside, and then their band played inside where everyone was, but they were like, yeah, just play out in the yard somewhere, and like 3 people were out there and everyone else was inside. That was a pretty bad house show, because then like all the local bands played inside. It was a big bummer. Best house show is really hard. Every time I play Stanton, Virginia, and Charlotte, North Carolina, I have a really amazing time. In Charlotte, on September, I had my first experience where someone crowd surfed to my music. That was really exciting. In Stanton, Virginia, it's just like this big giant party where everyone's really in love with each other. And I'll play there, and there's like a guy with banjo covering Mumford and Sons, and then there's a juggalo rapper, and then there's like a guy who sounds like the Violent Femmes, and it's just like everyone is there, and I really like that. That's the fun of the small towns. You get all sorts of people together, and there's not like a set scene as much. Since I've expanded my merchandise, it's become way easier to do this. Like, I've started having stickers and pins, and I sell art prints, and the art prints, it's amazing like what they've done for me, because it's just like, you know, people will buy CDs, but it's not like a huge priority to buy the music when you can download it. Like, I get just as many downloads for free on my Bandcamp as I do CD sales. So having the art prints and the stickers, it's like something tangible. It's more of like a memory of the show, or something that is a really unique thing to own rather than like owning the music. So merchandise is super important, and it's like good to be creative with it. Like, I've seen bands that have oven mitts with like lyrics from their songs on it. T-shirts are always great. Merch is huge, and it's neat because people respond to creativity and homemade stuff. Like, that's the stuff that people remember, is like really unique things rather than like the CD. One of my favorite quotes ever is from a musician named Momus there. He said, in the future, people won't be famous for 15 minutes, but they'll be famous for 15 people. And I think that's, you see a lot of that in the DIY house show world. Like, you see a lot of, like, you'll play with someone and like everyone in the audience will know all of their words, and they will scream them along at the top of their lungs. Or like, there's the Folkorama compilations, and if like one of those bands goes on tour, there's probably 3 or 4 people in the audience who like know every word and will scream it, or they'll cover each other's songs. And like, there's like just little die-hard fan bases everywhere. Like, I played a show in someone's parents' backyard with a girl who I think is 17, and she had all these songs that like every one of her friends knew every single one of the words, and they were wordy songs. Like, it was a lot to remember, and it was just amazing, like, to hear. Like, I love that experience though, where you go somewhere and you feel like you're watching this person who's totally famous, even though they've like maybe ever played 3 out-of-town shows. Really cool. Folkorama is it's like a record label / series of compilations / group of friends that was sort of the brainchild of a guy named Jesse from Columbia, Missouri, and he just started like, I don't even know how he got started, but one day there was this compilation on the internet called Folkorama, and it's for free on Bandcamp, and I don't know what happened, but like all of a sudden it just blew up, and like every month he ran out of free downloads immediately. Like, hundreds and hundreds of people were downloading it and making fan art and posting it on Tumblr, and like all of a sudden there was this new network of people that felt like it sprung up overnight, and he's put out 3 Folkoramas now, and it's like there's like almost like this brotherhood thing going on between everyone who's involved. It's like, oh, you're on Folkorama, sweet, you got a show. He's doing like videos, Folkorama sessions, and like Frank Turner just did one, so like it's crazy. It's just this like one kid who was out in Missouri and like got his friends together and put out a compilation, and just like really struck a chord. It's neat. There's like no money put into it. Like, he'll make stickers, but like hardly even exists as a physical CD. He made a couple of them, so it's like, it's really exciting for people that they can just speak their mind, find like-minded people, and like it's completely free of any of the pretense of money. I mean, I think that Jesse and I are both compulsive organizers. Like, it's like there's so much out there on the internet that I think it really helps to find someone who's willing to organize it into something digestible. And I think that like that's becoming like a more common thing for people to do. Like, it's sort of another side of being an entrepreneur. Like, you know, you create a name for something and you present it, and people respond to it. And like, we're not doing it for money. Like, neither of us have made a cent off of what we do, but like at least, you know, I never made a cent off of DIY, and Folkoramas all for free, but it's still creating a brand and like creating a name that people trust and recognize, or something that's just accessible. Because like if you're looking to tour and you're like, how do I even find something? And you go to a website and there's a list of states, and you can just click on it, and then all of a sudden there's all these venues that you know are at least somewhat in line with what you're trying to do. It makes everything easier. And if you're like playing folk music and it's like got a punk influence or is like sort of off the beaten path, and you find a compilation of all these people that are doing it, all of a sudden you're like, oh, there is like a world I exist in. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of that going on where people create their brands, their worlds, and bring everyone else in. I want to give more shout outs than I can even imagine.
Zeke! Mom and Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Mom and Dad. God, there's so many people who've helped me along the way, and so many people that I just want everyone to know about. So let's see. So my friend Kara Kara is over there. That I'm on tour with right now is pretty cool. She's from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And then there's Zeke Bird, who's this crazy like composer, avant-garde pop maestro out there. This great musician named Freddie Fudpucker, who's from New Zealand and he's living in Germany now, and he like just like it's awesome. There's this really cool guy in Portland named Felix Hatfield, who's like this brilliant songwriter who works with amazing musicians, and he's just like totally exists in his own planet. That like he's like he told me he was inspiration Aryan, that like his diet was inspiration, and he just keeps things around that inspire him. And like that was amazing. It blew my mind when he said that. Oh, Her Fantastic Cats in Baltimore is this awesome like tap dancing, banjo playing. I don't even know what you call him past that. He's his own creature. He's a fantastic cat.